Right, here we are, episode number 8 of Changing Lanes. And today I'm joined by Felicity Abbott.
Hi. I love changing lanes. That's a very cool name.
Yes, yeah. So I think you are the definition of this. Just from like the conversation that we've had so far, we were supposed to start recording half an hour ago, but here we are,
It's been many a lane. Yeah.
many a lane, and I'm sure we'll get into quite a few of them today. So I found Felicity on TikTok literally a few weeks back, and I watched one of her videos about prepping for an interview as I was going in and into an interview, and I got an email a few weeks later saying I've got the job, and I opened my phone afterwards, and it said that how to respectfully resign from your job,
That
and
was perfect timing.
the whole thing was just destiny. So very quickly, I invited Felicity on the pod. Now, I feel that we've got a lot of things that we can get into. I've got some notes here because there's going to be some chaos here that I've got to try and like control a little bit so we can stay roughly on track. So, who is Felicity Abbott?
Long story or short story?
Let's go medium story. Let's do medium. Somewhere in
Right.
the middle.
Yeah. So I now own a recruitment agency. It's called Found by Felicity, which is like a groundbreaking name. I know. And one client told me it was the shittest name he'd ever heard for a recruitment agency. So I was like, cool. Um,
No.
yeah, honestly, I was like,
Double points if you can get alliteration in there.
yeah, no fucking around here. So I basically help like brands and creative agencies in London find talent. So lots of like social media, brand strategy, everything like creative. Before that, I wanted to be a musician. That was like the initial goal, but that did not work out because the music industry is savage, and the guy that owned my last label was like a lunatic crackhead and tried to sue me, and I was like, I have no money, so try, please, because you'll find nothing in the pot. And so that's how I got into recruitment. I quit music and then I was like, I need a real job. So that's what I do. I have a little dog called Biggie, who's very annoying. And yeah, my life's kind of boring now. Like, I think I used to be really cool and now I'm just like trying to get my grass seed to grow. That's kind of the medium.
Amazing. So let's kind of walk through your changing of lanes. I I can't remember where I read it, but you said somewhere that you uh, started your own thing with no money in the bank, started from zero, and
Mhm.
that seemed really scary.
Yeah.
Now, I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to, whether they're kind of in that process of starting or whether they, in that like pre-contemplation phase. Like, I couldn't possibly do that because I've got no money. It's a lot. I'm starting from zero. Take me back to that time. Talk to me about what it was like. What were your thoughts and your feelings at that point?
That was like a sink or swim situation. So I was working at the last recruitment agency that I was at, and they found out that I was looking for a new job. And in recruitment, they don't do notice periods. Like you get sacked on the spot. But I had a contract, right? I had a month's notice. I had just come back from holiday to Canada to go see my brother and spent like all of my money because Canada is expensive. And we just bought a house because I was like, oh, everything's going really well. And they fired me, and on that day, I was like, "What the fuck am I gonna do?" Because I have a mortgage to pay, I now don't have a job. The market for talent acquisition at that time was, like, the worst it had ever been, so, like, all of the TAs everywhere had been laid off. I wasn't far enough into my career to be, like, attractive to an agency because I was still only, like, a year in, so people were, not sure. I wanted more money than what people were offering me because I was like, "I've been top biller in my last agency, so I'm not coming in for, like, 20 grand." Cool. And, it was really scary, like, knowing that you just lost your job there and then. Luckily, my cousin owns a employment law firm, so I was like, "SJ, these guys have just tried to get rid of me on the spot. Can you help me out?" So she was like, "No, she's gonna work her notice," sorted me out. She's a great cousin. And my mindset at that time, I was like, "There's no agencies that I really wanna go to, like, I don't wanna be in the situation I was just in. I can't get an internal job. Like, it's now or never, basically." And I think knowing that, like, okay, in 3 weeks, I'm gonna have to pay my mortgage, so I either have to fucking make this work or I don't, like, that overrode the fear for me. And it was like day one, set up the business, got a client that day. Like I literally was like, I am going to go so ham on business development. Like every single human on my LinkedIn is going to get a message from me. Everyone's going to get a message because either I make money or my boyfriend's paying our mortgage for the next 6 months and we're screwed. And I think in times like that, where it's like you feel like everything's so on top of you, and this is where like being ADHD is good because in times of like insanity, I'm like laser focused. Like when it's chaos, if something bad happens, my brain is like, find a solution now. And that really helped. And I think I just was like, fuck it. All I saw was the end goal. And I was like, well, I don't fucking care about anything else. All I'm going to do is get a client. That's it. And I'm going to get a client. I'm going to work a job and then I'm going to get paid for it. And I'm going to rinse and repeat that until I'm in a situation where I'm like comfortable. And that's what I did.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Now, what like once you now, if I think back to the days when I was working with clients, that first one was always not necessarily the hardest, but the biggest. Like that first pillar to fall. What happened then? Obviously, like I said, you get your first client over the line. Where did you start to go from there?
Got the first client, placed a candidate with them within like 3 weeks. I still work with them today. I love them. They're awesome. And she's still there as well. So got them, started working with them. Okay. And then the next stage was like the most insane stage I've ever had since I started my business. So I started working with this agency, this UGC agency, and it was set up by these like two young guys. And this was like October time, right? That I signed them. And they were like, yeah, we need like 8 people. And I was like, what the fuck? Like the recruitment gods are shining down right now, right? Like I've just started my business. I've just got like 8 jobs on from this one client. So I started filling all these roles. It's going really well. They're super happy with the talent. Like everything's going well. And when it comes to paying me, bear in mind they've racked up a bill of like over 30 grand by this point. Yeah, like they owe me a lot of money.
Wow. Okay.
Before Christmas and the invoice is late. And I'm like, okay. So right. I'm like, sometimes that happens. That's cool. Sometimes it takes like a week or so for finance to get you the invoice, whatever. There's like 8 invoices though. And the invoice doesn't come. And then the next invoice is due and that doesn't come. And then they like sporadically pay me one here, one there. And I'm like, cool, but there's still like another 6 left to go. And this is where like the mountain that was that company, these guys were insane, like fucking insane. They just didn't pay me. I remember I called them on Christmas Eve and I was like, I have no money. Like my brother is here. We have to go up to London. I need to like pay for all this shit. Can you just please send me an invoice whilst they're like on private jets? Like one of the guys' dad's like a financier. They're like very private school educated. I was like, you've got money in the bank. This goes on for months, like months that they haven't paid me. And then it took me having to send them a statutory demand, which essentially is like the first stage of me closing your business, that they didn't know what that was, right? Like they got on the phone to my lawyer and they were like, what's a statutory demand? Because she was like, she's issued you one 2 weeks ago. And she was like, she's going to like, we'll close your business basically if you don't pay this money. So then I had to take them to settlement. I got half the money in the end. And I was like, you're a dickhead. But I knew they were going to close the business down. So I was like, I'd rather get something rather than nothing. And I think going through that period alone, because I don't have a business partner, right? And I was like, I've never been through this before. That was wild. And I learned a lot. But I think the thing that really helped me in that time was like reaching out to other people who do the same thing as me, who own their own businesses as well. And I was really surprised at how helpful people were. Because I think in recruitment, people can be quite cagey, but everyone was like, what do you need? And gave me like tons of advice. But it was a really stressful time. I was like, these guys are crazy. They were nuts.
Amazing. And how like something that I'm banging the drum of at the moment is obviously like 50% of something is better than 100% of
Yeah.
nothing. But with that, so what do you think in terms of like lessons and skills dealing with those absolute maniacs uh, did for you, and how did that help you with business in the future?
Really taught me that like your mental health and your mental well-being is the most important thing. And there's no amount of money that that comes above how you feel in your brain. I don't know if that came out right, but like in that time, the amount of stress that I was under, like I was like waking up every day, like having panic attacks and shit. Cause I was like, what am I going to do? when it came to settlement, yeah, I was annoyed because I was like, "You're only 36 grand and I'm getting 16." Like, that's annoying. That's an annoying thing to happen. But when they paid me and it was, like, over, it was, like, the stillness and the calmness, like, that made up for all of it. Because I was like, "I never have to deal with you ever again now, and now I can focus on other things." And when you cull the shit in your life, good things fill the gaps. If you have all this shit there and it's stressing you out, it's making your life difficult, there's no room for anything else. So that's what it taught me, is just don't get so consumed by the bad stuff. Like, if you can take 50% to feel 100% better, then do that, because there's always another thing around the corner.
Definitely. And I can reminds me of like a time where I was working with some clients, and in hindsight, they probably weren't the best fit.
Mm,
This is back about sort of fitness training days, and like the stress of getting that like of that relationship to unravel to the point of sacking them. That's that,
yeah,
and just moving on.
yeah.
Like was it feels like a
It
weight's
is
lifted.
yeah, it's the best thing ever. Like, when you get rid of that dead weight, only good things can happen next. But it's really hard, I think, especially when you work for yourself, because you're like clinging to these clients, right? Because you're like, you guys are my lifeline right now. And it's really hard to fire them and like cut that lifeline, not knowing what's coming next. But there's always something. There's always going to be another client. There's so many businesses, there's so many people, but it is hard because you're like, I've got someone here, but it's not a good client. If they don't pay you, they're not client. They're just a person that's taking up your time.
Yeah, definitely. And it's something that like it's that initial kind of like as you can see that this isn't going right, and it's just like there's like a lot of pressure and a lot of fear
Mhm.
that's building up, and then you get it feels like this is the worst thing ever, and this is never going to get better, and like I know I've been in these situations before, and it feels like a spiraling.
100%.
Everything's just getting on top of you, and then almost at a flick of a switch, like it all goes. Which when I've been in challenging circumstances, I've even led back onto that of actually, do you know what? Like this can go in like
Mm,
in a click of your fingers. Like this fear, this situation is a mile wide and an inch deep. Like
yeah.
that's what you've got to remember sometimes.
You have to zoom out.
It it
Yeah,
isn't as stressful, as daunting as whatever that situation is. Like you're actually okay,
yeah, that's the thing. Like,
believe it
no,
or not.
do you know what I mean? Like, nobody's gonna die. We're not like, I'm not a brain surgeon. I'm not nothing is that deep. Nothing. Everything's really okay. If something happened and I couldn't pay my mortgage, I can call the bank and pause it for 6 months. Like, not someone's not gonna come and, like, come with a locksmith and change the locks on my house. Like, I think there's so much fear, but it's hard when you're in it to see that. But I just think nothing's ever really that bad. It's never that bad. There's always a way. Yeah, there's always, as long as you have that mindset. And sometimes it's hard. I've had depression before. I've had depression for years actually. And so when you're in that, it's really tough to see the good. But I think now I'm a bit older, I always know there's always good around the corner. Not to sound like some wellness guru, because that's not me, but it's just what this has taught me the last few years. It's 100% that. It's just zooming out, and yeah, no one's gonna die.
Yeah, if in doubt, zoom out.
Yeah, oh my god, I love that. I love that. That is so different out.
Amazing. Hit and rewind a little bit on something that you said there about your ADHD. Now, something that tends to go hand in hand with that is burnout.
Oh my god, yeah.
And I'm not saying that it's exclusive just to people who, might be a bit neurospicy or whatever, but burnout, especially for the people that are going to be listening to this sort of podcast, it's going to be something that's going to be incredibly prevalent and at the forefront of your mind.
Mm,
So, talk to me. Do you think that, like, burnout can ever be a good thing?
sometimes. And I know this is controversial because burnout in itself is not a good thing. Like, burnout, like really bad burnout is not a good thing. I also think somewhere lines have been slightly blurred between burnout and just working hard and then being exhausted from it. Like, especially me being ADHD, right? Like, I burn out like once every 3 to 6 months. easily. And that's just a natural thing that's always happened. I have cycles of tons of energy. I can do everything at once and then I crash and then I can't do anything at all. So maybe that's why, because I'm like, I've always been a hustler, right? A hustler, so stupid. But I've always worked since I was young. And I just think I was raised with that mindset of like work hard. That in turn makes you exhausted sometimes. Where burnout is bad is if you like hate your manager, you hate your job, nothing good is coming from the energy you're exerting, and you're just like in this downward spiral. Sometimes I think it's just like you just have to fucking work hard for a few months and then, yeah, you want to nap for a week. But it depends how bad your burnout is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. And that's a bit of a prelude. You've jumped ahead and you
Yeah.
don't know you've jumped ahead. One thing that I find works really, really well with, and it's something that I've honed, is the idea of like pushing and pulling.
Mm,
Of like sometimes there is an opportunity to push or there's an opportunity to pull. And again, it's something that I think people have become really disassociated with. And it's like your intuition and your gut, okay, of like what do I really need in this moment? So like, you're talking about, like so you might need to push for 6 weeks, 12 weeks, whatever, to really get through like a challenging time,
mm,
deadline, something's gone wrong and it's got to get fixed. Whether that's like even just for a second, like park the professional side, like
yeah,
that's a life thing too. Like there's
100%.
times where like I got introduced to this concept as like a fitness thing. And it's like, on a week where you have less stuff on is a perfect opportunity to push. And, you can
Yeah,
really pull back on the weeks where you're really busy, but make sure you have X, Y, like
yeah,
that whole thing. But actually, like, it's to me, I'm like, that's a real thing with life. And, like looking at, it doesn't have to be even weeks at a time. It can be hours, it can
yeah,
be days that you're like, I need to push for this time.
yeah. Think about it
And,
when we were in school, right? And you had exams. So you'd have your exams before the summer holiday because you do all your exams and your studies and then you do all this stuff and it was really stressful and you're like studying. If you're like me, you're studying the night before because you don't study any other time. And then you're exhausted by the end of it. And then you have summer and you take a break. But now we're adults. We don't have that. You just have to work always, right? Like there's no break. You're like to go on holiday.
yeah, just looking at like looking at your week, like when is there a bit of a clean break to put
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
something on the side? If you know that your like promotion's coming up, is that
Uh-huh.
is that not a perfect time to like actually I'm just gonna have to knuckle down and crack
Yeah.
on for a bit?
Yeah.
Like to me, I'm in a position where I'm starting a new role in a few weeks' time, like, but I know that actually like what I want to do and not planned at all. I'm going on holiday just before, and I go
Uh-huh.
back for a few days and then I leave and I move. But the perfect opportunity there is like I'm going to pull back before I start because I know I'm gonna have to push. I'm not gonna have to push hard. There's gonna be a lot of new information, new circumstances, new people, building relationships. Like it's all stuff that I'm like I back myself to do, but I need like you need to manage your energy within that.
Yeah.
And
100%.
it's so easy to lose sight of like routine is good, but it's also can be bad.
I have
It's
no,
like
I can't do
it's
routine. Oh my God, I cannot
okay,
do.
momentum. So you
Some
can
people
end
are
up on a good streak and a bad streak, right?
great with it. I think, I don't know. Some people love it. Some people love routine. Yeah. But I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So it's having that, like, I just think some weeks, yeah, you might have to work 10-hour days. And then some weeks you might only work 8. Like, I'm very much about like positive mental health, right? And champion employees and flexible working, especially for someone like me. Like some days I start at 10, some days I start at 6, some days I bed rot for 2 hours when I wake up waiting for my ADHD medication to kick in because okay, I can. Do you know what I mean? Like sometimes you just have to put a shift in. Like you have to put a shift in. Otherwise, how do you grow? How do you get that promotion? How do you build that really cool startup you want to build? How do you start that clothing business? Like anyone who's done something impressive has had to bust their ass for it. I think nothing, unless you're like minted and your dad's bought you a business, which actually happens a lot, to be honest, then like you have to put the work in. That sounds so old school, but yeah, I think it's true.
For me, like I think back of like it's using the leverage. So when I'd always done like, especially on COVID, like PT and the fitness stuff had kind of taken more of a backseat for me. Uh, And I started working at my local hospital as a porter. To be honest with you, hated it, hated everything about it. Like, there's a lot of stuff that I look back on and I'm
Mm,
unintentionally upskill off the back of it, which is positive. But I look back at it and I don't necessarily have tons of positive memories or emotions associated to it. But when I had the opportunity to start a brand new gym, I'm like, actually, like I have to absolutely nail this
yeah,
if I don't want to do this anymore.
yeah,
And like that was very much talking about that whole like push and pull thing. Probably a few weeks before, like I'd done a lot of like getting set up and ready to go, and where there was say open hours for 6 hours in the day, I would be there an hour before, an hour after, and I'd be there for the whole thing, regardless I was getting paid
yeah,
over an entire weekend. And then, when I was starting, I actually look at my schedule. It was mental and it's completely unsustainable, but it allowed me to build a really like business that was in a good place
yeah,
and be a lot more comfortable financially and actually start to like, enjoy life and go and see bits of the world and
yeah,
not be absolutely stressing about cash every other second. Like that
yeah.
was,
You have to like be there and show face for people to want you to train them. Do you know what I mean? Like if you're
yeah,
never
definitely.
get clients, but you do that at the start, right? And then you build up your client base because you put in all this time and all this effort. And then 3 months down the line, cool, you've got a solid client base now. You don't have to be there as much. Like you've already
Yeah.
done in the beginning. That's the thing about the push and pull, right? Like, you do all this stuff so that later on you can chill a bit. So I'm trying to build this business and build my other startup so that when I'm older, I can just sit on a beach and do nothing, basically. Because that's the plan.
And like that with me, I was definitely towards the end of that, I was definitely burnt out. I was scheduled to be in every day for a minimum of 4 hours. Like
Mm.
I did that for 6 weeks straight. I got to the point where I was falling asleep. Like I would wake up and like plate that I'd had my dinner on
On your
was
face.
like next, basically on the arm of the sofa, and I'd
Oh my.
like passed out next to it, and I'm going to like actually going into bed
Yeah.
3 in the morning via the kitchen to put the plate away. Um, which yeah, like sometimes you got to do it.
Yeah.
Like there's parts of it for me like where like you said, it's like this hustle culture. I don't think it's an inherently bad thing, but it's got to be in the right direction. It's got to be towards something that is compelling,
100%.
and there's got to be a level of
Fulfillment. It's got to
yeah,
be fulfillment for you, whether that's financially, emotionally, or something. Like that's why if you're if you're burning out because you literally fucking hate your job and your life and your manager and everything, there's no positivity in the end of that for you. But if I burn out because I have like a solid 8 weeks where I'm working 12-hour days and I've got to do all this shit, at the end of it, I'm like, cool, I did that all for me. That was all for a reason. And yes, now I want to get in a hole and die for a week, but at the end of that week, I'll come out the other side and it'll be fine. But it's what you're burning out for and the level of it because it's not healthy for your body. It's not like good for you to be under that much stress. Yeah, but I think that's why it has to be for something. Otherwise, if you just hate your job that much, you should get a new job. Yeah, yeah,
amazing. Something that is fascinating to me, and I just would love to talk to you about it because I saw one of your posts about it, and I've spoken to people about it on the pod before, but there's like a awkwardness around British culture and negativity about people doing well.
yeah.
Where do you think that comes from?
So many places. I think in school we were told like the smart kid who's trying hard, they get bullied. I don't know if it's the same now. When I was in school, many
Yeah,
moons ago, it was the same. Um, the media, I think the tabloid media has like ingrained that into people, like they tear people down. I think that when someone sees somebody doing better than them, it makes them look at themselves. The same with sobriety, the same with veganism. It's like when somebody tells you that they're not doing something or they're doing something right, and then you have to look at your life and what you're doing, whether that's how much money you're earning, are you drinking, are you eating slaughtered baby pigs who should be like farm cows running around and enjoying their life? it makes someone think, shit, I should be doing that. I should be doing, but they can't, right? And or they don't think that they can. And I think that that makes people uncomfortable. And I think that that stirs up some kind of jealousy, and that's how it comes out in the UK. I think people don't like success. I think that people think that if they're down, everyone should be down with them. And I think that, I don't know, I just think everyone can do it, right? And I hate that because it's like bootstraps, whatever, right? But I think I speak to so many people who come from working class backgrounds and they are high up in marketing agencies and they were like, I fucking worked my ass off. I grew up in a council estate and now I am like managing 80 people and I'm making a shit ton of money and no one did it for me. And I think we have this mindset of like, this is all I'm worth. This is all I can get. We're not told that we can't do anything else. We're not told this. Everyone's told, yeah, cool, you go get your salary job, you do that until you die, and then you can have your little pension at the end, whatever. But there's so many other things that we can do. And I think if everyone wasn't so pissed off about it and actually just open their mind a bit to what else they could do, maybe things would change.
Definitely. And I think a lot of it comes back to comparison. And there's so much online about how comparison is the worst thing in the world.
Mm,
It's not like it's something that can allow you to kick into action and do something.
so,
Like looking at, you know, your friend, colleague, XYZ person, they've started, a side business or they've, you know, gone for a promotion. And like I said, sometimes that can be really like that makes you feel like what you're not doing. There's this level of like being triggered.
yeah,
And it's ultimately choosing
the
what to do
difference.
with that.
Yeah.
Ultimately, that's like just a response. Now, I've caught myself with this literally a couple of weeks ago. And I'm like, actually, like, what gives them the right to do that? And
100%.
I noticed it going like, and it almost got into that kind of like spike, but I didn't act on it. These thoughts, I noticed these thoughts whizzing around my, what gives them the right to do that? Why can they do that? Who do they think they are? And it's like, actually, right, let's put a mirror up here. Who do I think I am?
Yeah, because this is the thing, right? Like we as humans think this about other people, but other people are thinking about that about us, right? Like it's
Yeah,
just
man,
this
it's
endless cycle of fucking everyone's envious of each other, but everyone wants what everybody else has. But I think if you just put your blinders on and know what you want, and also if you're jealous of your colleague starting a side hustle, you can do that as well. I mean, like there's like you said, like it's your choice whether you do that or not. But people are like that, like they hate it. If someone's like, "Oh, I've started washing cars and I'm going to do this valeting business," people are like, "Why are you doing that?" Because they
yeah,
want.
and it's always that, isn't it? Why are you doing that?
Yeah, but it's the same thing with social media, right? Because I think everyone puts their best life on social media and all of it is bollocks. No one's life is perfect. That influencer with millions and millions of views, they don't wake up at 4 every day and go to the gym. They did that day to film it. Like that's why they did that day. And everywhere they go, they have to have a phone in their hand. But everyone's envious of them because of what they're doing. And people who start trying to make content, and I've thought this about me because I'm like, I just got TikTok, right? Because I'm at this point where I'm like, I don't fucking care. I have like 3 really close friends and my boyfriend, and that is how I like my life, right? And I know that there's probably people who are like, why is she doing that, right? But it's just getting to the point where you're like, I don't fucking care. Like, I don't, once you stop caring about things, everything becomes a lot easier because people will always be jealous. I mean, there's always something for someone to be envious about.
Yeah, definitely. And that's something, it's a really tricky thing. Now, I think we as like two British people will naturally be like associate that with just us. I don't know enough about the cultures and stuff like that. And you see places like Dubai where it's like do well and if you're American and you start a business and all of your friends buy your products and
Yeah. Yeah, they
the
do.
times
Not here. Not here. They don't. No, they do not.
okay. They'll go and like they'll send pictures of it, like
In a
speaking to you
group.
like, oh, yeah, exactly, and you get absolutely ribbed for it. And like I get part of it's like it's gonna help you grow
No, but the thing is,
strong, thicker
you'll get
skin.
proof
Yeah.
of it. When you're successful, those people will be like, "Oh yeah, I know that guy. He's
Mm.
my mate. Yeah, isn't it so cool what they've done?" That's exactly what happened.
And you've not spoken to me
Yeah,
in
it's like
6 months because last message you sent it was like that was fucking shit.
100%,
Yeah.
100%. It's so funny. I just think that it would be if everyone here was more comfortable talking about money and just being happy for other people's success, everyone would just be happier and we'd all win collectively together. Salaries would go up, everyone would just be happier, but we're all fighting amongst ourselves about stupid, silly stuff rather than looking at the actual issues. Salaries are too low. Flexible working is down the pan. Like everyone wants you back in office. It's useless. Childcare is through the like these are the things that like people actually should care about, but instead everyone's fighting about who's making Instagram posts now and how shit they are. It's just stupid. It's so stupid.
Amazing. Kind of moving on slightly. I want to, given your expertise, for me, I try to make everything as valuable as it can be. Something that I wanted to get your input on and kind of allow like a little bit of a very icky quick fire round.
Come on. I'll see. I'll see if I can magic up the answers.
So around kind of like some actionable tips to help people, like my my love and idea of this would be someone's going to sit here and they're going to be like, yeah, I'm ready to go and go after that job. It
Mm,
feels hard. Go after that next thing. But something that I found moving away from a self-employed world where I basically on paper and to an extent in reality a little bit kind of dossed around for like 5 years,
mm,
and your only real solid reference for the majority of your skill set is yourself.
yeah.
Moving into employment, which is a weird move to make, I know, that's me. Like coming out and talking about those sort of things and going into these jobs, and again getting a lot of no's, a lot of kickback, and really kind of struggling to understand to what to do next. So I want to kind of ask you a couple of things about just like making,
To make it easy, what to do.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, and there'd be like nice little actionable tips for people to take away.
So,
So, what can people do to basically make their CVs stand out and get read rather than just deleted?
okay. First thing, please stop sending them on Word document. It looks bad and it's lazy. So I'll just be honest about everything. When I see a Word document as a CV, it makes my insides feel sad. So there's loads of websites. There's places like resume.io. I think Google has like CV templates where you can just put in the information. It just makes it look super nice. Because a hiring manager spends 7 seconds looking at a CV, which is no time at all. So it has to be as clear as possible. I should not say I'm a hardworking, trustworthy individual who works well in a team and also on my own. It has to read like you. So when you're writing it, if you literally say it out loud as you're writing it, like, hey, I'm Feli, I run a recruitment agency and I do, but like that sounds like me, right? It feels more human to read. So when they read the CV, they're like, cool, this is a real human, not just like a ChatGPT robot. Skills section should be down the side, easy to read. You want to put in like what tools you use. Things like sleep is not a skill, which I've seen on a CV before. Yeah, sleeping is not a skill. No, honestly, I've seen that before. And then in your actual work experience, you have to tell us what you've done. You can't just put like, I was an account exec, account manager, and account director. You have to tell us like, what clients did you work on? What sector did you work on? Do you have data? Like if you're a social media manager, how much did you grow that TikTok account by? Oh, we grew it by 300%. I've had X amount of videos go viral. Like things like that, super helpful. And I know people apply to a lot of jobs, right? But I think when we apply to jobs, it's like when you apply to uni, like there's always one that you really want. And then the other ones you're like, these are my backups. So the ones that you really want, look at the job description and then take things out of that you've done and put them into your CV. So it's literally right there. They're like, oh, cool. They've done everything. Let's interview them. And don't put a picture on your CV. A picture does not belong on a CV. Rapid
Interesting.
fire. Yeah. Rapid fire.
Interesting. Now, the sleep thing, I'm not even going to just
God.
dignify that with a response. What I find very interesting, and I wanted to talk to you about this, was and I know it sounds really silly, but the making the CV look interesting
Hmm.
and getting it all designed up. Now, I've never done that, which is
Interesting.
very interesting. I've always been like, no, it must be uniform on Word, and like almost too scared to like veer off just in case it makes you look unprofessional. But then I'm also like, hang on, that would probably be more me.
Yeah, and I work in creative, right? So some of the CVs that I see are like literally like posters designed, like they're so fucking cool. And I remember them. I'm like, that looked amazing. And also you're creative, so your CV should be creative, right? Like if I see a graphic designer and their CV's sent to me on Word, I'm like, you clearly not good at your job because why would you not design it? There's one thing making it look really lovely and presentable in a template, and then one thing like making it look wild because you just want it to stand out. It just needs to be like really nice and like clean. And I think sometimes with Word docs, it's like everything's just written like this. It's just fucking, it's a nightmare. It's just a nightmare. So
Really interesting.
yeah. But I could be like, this is just I look at CVs all day, but like that's my personal opinion on things. And I have had clients before not interview people because their CV looked like shit. Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, like even like I've done a little bit of recruitment stuff, just for like my own role at the moment. I've read like people's CV. I've looked at them. I'm like, how is XYZ person even given the time of day?
Right.
And
Yeah.
like, and I'm like, what am I doing so wrong? Like,
Yeah. But it's
I'm
like,
not like that, surely.
yeah.
I thought I put loads of effort in and specifically tweaked to the job role and the organization and picked out keywords, blah blah blah. But anyway, mad. So in like an interview setting, it can be really daunting and you can feel like you're on trial.
Mm.
How would you try to make yourself feel more like confident and comfortable in those sort of situations?
Okay, this is gonna sound wild, but this is what you should do. Before the interview, like 5 minutes before, you need to do like star jumps and press ups. And like obviously if you're able bodied, right? If you're not, you need to like move your arms around, like get your blood pumping. Okay. So I was a dancer for years and I used to get like stage fright. And when I used to sing. So before I'd go on stage, I would like fucking sprint up and down backstage. And getting the endorphins pumping in your body instantly makes you feel anxious and not so much in your head. So you automatically will sit down. Hopefully you're not like panting, like don't run a 5K, but it's just to get you like
You
pumped,
come in and you're sweating through your shirt.
dripping down. Like I'm so nervous. It just helps get that nervous energy out. And then I think the other thing is just you have to be yourself in an interview, right? Not completely yourself, like still professional, but like as much yourself as possible. Some companies you're just not right for, and some companies are just not right for you, right? So if you sit in an interview and you're like, fuck, this was awful, it's like stuffy, I don't get on with this person, there's no chemistry, there's no vibe, I hated the whole thing, like that might not be the job for you. Because someone might sit down in that same interview and just be like, yeah, cool, I like how direct you were. And do you know what I mean? Sometimes it's just a clash and it's not your fault. It's just that it just wasn't the right thing.
Yeah, definitely. And that's kind of what I found with recent interview. I basically felt very like I went in any like situations I just dealt with,
Nice.
and I'm actually like, if you can't, act upon feedback and feel like I felt for me, I'm like, my success metric here is my performance,
Yeah,
how I feel I am. I walked away and I was like, I'm happy.
I love that. That's so good. Yeah, sometimes you just know. That's what I mean. You
That's
click.
for me. I've only been aware of that ever happening for me a few times,
Mm.
but I feel it's a hard place to get to.
Yeah,
Like, it act upon feedback. Like,
yeah.
I know it sounds really silly, but for this is so one of the reasons that I started podcast was all off the back. Actually, this is completely relevant. Um, was off the back of a job interview going wrong.
I love that.
I forgot
Really?
to tell you this.
Everything happens
Um,
for a reason, right?
so what happened was I've gone for this job role. I'd got like headhunted by a recruiter, and it's the
Nice.
first time it ever happened for me, and I felt like, oh my god, this is like really weird.
Mm,
But I was like buzzing with the situation. I've gone to interview, and it was with quite a large corporation, like big,
mm.
and it was for like a new project. The starting even was like a 10K bump on what I was on now.
Nice.
So that was like a massive confidence boost. Things like company car, big bonus,
Love that.
really cool, working environment. And there was a large, I had to go to Manchester to interview. So, I'd gone like for me, I'm like, that was a
I
2 hour
think
drive.
the company might be if it's Manchester.
We'll have a chat afterwards, shall we? So I'd gone up and interviewed, and I spent so long on my presentation.
Mm.
Like I love presenting and I love talking. It's something that's really important to me.
Was this a first stage interview?
Second,
Oh, okay, I was gonna say quite the task on first stage.
the first stage was a video, which I thought was really cool.
Oh, okay.
She had
What
to come across. See, first stage was like a video. I had to like I got they'd
question?
ask a question and I had to like speak it back
Do you
as a
know what?
video.
Like that.
Yes.
Okay. The people that I've spoken to have been asked to do that. I never normally get a good response for that. For people who have told me that they've had to do it. Did you find it like awkward to do, or was it because you know, but
No.
you're chatty, and I feel like you'd just be like, "Cool, that's the thing."
It allowed me to speak. It allowed me to. Like, I don't necessarily have an issue with speaking to camera. Some people freeze,
Yeah, that's yeah, for sure.
but again, that's a skill. That was the
Yeah.
first time I look back to like the first video that I ever recorded, and I think it was about like energy balance, and it looked like I was at gunpoint. Energy balance, like calories in, calories out. Like it wasn't like
I
a
thought you meant like
no. So it's energy balance, like calories in versus calories out, and oh my God, like it looked like it was a hostage video.
you're like
There's
no,
no, there's no vibes. There was no vibes. There's no personality.
so
Like
fun.
that's something that I've then cultivated over the years. It allowed me to get my personality and my energy across, which I've really struggled to do. And I'm like, oh, banging. So I've essentially been a name on a bit of paper. I've got sent this link,
Nice.
spoken to camera, given it, got invited up for second stage. Now it was quite a sales heavy role, which was like I'm not necessarily opposed to that. Like it's an important skill to have for life in
Yeah.
general. So
Yeah.
I wasn't like sitting there being like, oh my, yeah, whatever. I very much, you know, known what I've signed up for. I go, I present, which again, I love that. Someone says, "Oh, can you present?" I'm like, "Oh, do I have to?
Oh, fuck it. All right then. If I'm out,
Sign me up." How long can we go for? Let's have a 3 hour TED talk.
so funny. Were you at the executive?
Sorry? No,
I feel like you should have been. Oh, you would have loved it. Center stage, all eyes on you. You would have smashed it.
that's what
Monologue.
I found as an adult. Like, I quite like that. But, like, as a child, terrified. Absolutely terrified. Would never have done that. Not that the opportunity wasn't there, but I would have just been like, no, and
Fit. Pure
run
fit.
home. But yeah, so for me, I got to that, I had that interview and I got my feedback down the line. Now, it was like basically the hiring manager rang me and he's like, I'm about to give you the most positive no of your life. And I'm like, oh, that hurts, firstly. That really hurt. So he was telling me and he's like, we love this, we love that, we love this, like great fit. But he said the one thing that you mucked up on, spoke too much.
Oh, yeah, but people get nervous. That's such a bullshit.
And
Oh,
you weren't direct enough, which in sales,
yeah, you have
like
to.
it doesn't cut it. Like you'll
Yeah.
just muck up all your sales
Yeah.
doing that. So I kind of was like, I took that on the chin, and I always loved the idea of like podcasts, and I kind of did it a little bit back in lockdown, and then just convinced myself it's not important, it doesn't make money. Like, why would I distract myself with something along those lines? It then sort of struck me a bit further down the line around like, actually, I need to. Why can't I?
Yeah, for sure.
Like I've always wanted to do like public speaking. So I was like, this is going to help me get better at being more concise and being more direct off the back of it. Now that was a very not direct story.
No, I
Just a
love
little bit,
I feel like I got
little bit, little bit.
good. Yeah. I also think that like in a sales role, in an interview, talking too much isn't a bad thing because I feel like that can be reined in, right? It's the people because I used to sell insurance for white goods on the phone and I was a charity mugger for years. Like, the people that stand on the street and try and get £2 off you for Greenpeace.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I've had like people call me an eco terrorist, like tell me to fuck off in the street. Like I feel like having that confidence can be reined in, but some people are like terrified to even try. So I think they made a mistake.
I'm so glad it happened
Yeah, exactly, because it would have been
because
so
it allowed me to kind of have that, to learn that lesson of the hard way. And, it's brought up some really cool opportunities since. It's something that takes a while, but, you know, that phone call was something I relived to myself.
Yeah.
when I drove to the last to the interview this time,
That's so good.
and I'm like, okay,
This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be direct. And look, you got the job.
yeah, send it and be direct. Absolutely send it. Kind of last thing that I want to cover is around something we've both kind of spoken about a little bit, but it's this idea of having to like grin and bear a job. Now, some like you can't just some quit your job. Like
No,
that's not
yeah. Not in a
always the smartest thing to do.
yeah.
So, in terms of tips and tricks to survive and get through a tricky patch, or to allow you to exit in a better way, and yeah, what would you suggest in that sort of circumstance?
When you're in that situation, and I've also been in that situation many times, it's getting to the point of like, I don't fucking like, I don't care. Like anything, if your manager shouts at you, it's having the headspace of like, okay, like I think if you're at the point where you hate it that much and you're that stressed, hopefully there's that switch that's already gone off in you, right? Where you're like, fine, whatever happens, happens. Definitely just remember that if your manager's having a go at you, it says more about them than it does about you, 100%. Aggressively look for jobs, like aggressively look for jobs because job hunting in itself is a full time job, right? Takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of effort. That's why people like me exist because I do this for companies because it's a whole fucking thing. Aggressively apply for jobs. Try and find like something else in your life that is positive outside of work because, okay, you hate your job, but you go to Brazilian Jiu Jitsu at the end of the day, and that makes you super, super happy. So when you're at work and you hate it, you're thinking, cool, at 6 o'clock, I'm going to go punch people and it's going to make me feel really good about my life.
You imagine folding your boss up in their pajamas.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. That's exactly it. I think when you're in a situation that's uncomfortable and you don't like it, you should be looking for an exit plan as soon as you possibly can, right? There's no point in waiting around. I hear this from people all the time. They're like, oh, I hate my job. I'm not sure if I want to leave. I'm like, why? Life is so short. We're here for like 80 years, right? Like nothing. Why are you wasting your time? Find something else. Just get through the day whilst you can and don't feel like you owe your job anything at this point. Like, you need to find an exit strategy for yourself. You don't owe them your being there, right? But when you do leave, try not to fucking burn all the bridges because you never know when you're going to see that person again. You never know who that person might know. And also, they're going to write your reference. So, and an empty reference says a lot.
definitely.
Yeah.
And I think kind of what I took away from that was like creating a light at the end of the tunnel.
100%. Yeah. You need
There's
to
been
find,
times where I felt like it is just
yeah. But it's like we said earlier, right? Like, nothing's ever as bad as you think it is. Nothing is ever as bad as you think it is. And when you're in a shit situation, and I know everything's subjective, but there's always someone who's in a worse situation than you. And it's just remember that, like, cool, I hate my job, but I have a job. My bills are being paid. There's food in my fridge. I can eat. I can put the heating on. I can have a bath if I want to. Like, you're not in a situation where you don't have a house or food or running water and you have to sleep outside in the cold. It's all relative. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
And we're
definitely.
very privileged to even have that problem that I hate my job. That's a privilege to be able to be like, I fucking hate my job. I'm gonna find another job. That's what people need to remember. Drop some mic.
Done.
Done. Bam.
Amazing. And what a place to end. Thank you so much. Classic end of the podcast sort of question is where can people find more of you?
TikTok. I'm new there, but here we are. I had a TikTok like go viral today.
Yeah? Which
Dude, it's,
one?
it was at like 250,000 views in a few hours.
Sick.
I was like, I will quit my job now. Thank you. My 300 TikTok found by Felicity. I'm not on Instagram yet. I should be on Instagram. LinkedIn, you can find me. I'm there every day, all day on LinkedIn. Either Felicity Abbott, just add my normal LinkedIn. And if you need help with a job, if you need help finding candidates, my DMs are always open. I think that's all that I am, to be honest. So that's where you'll find me.
Perfect. Amazing.
Thank you so much.